Oh yeah. This is fine. Everyone who is going to be here today is here, so I'm gonna go ahead and kick today off. Glad to hear. Is everyone doing okay? All things like checking in, give the general thumbs up vibe. So we are talking about public speaking today, and I cannot understate how excited I am about this. I love public speaking. This is the reason I teach for RAP. I made a version of this presentation almost 2.5 years ago. And you can tell because there's actually an introduction to who I am. This is the first time I've ever actually given it to a class that is my own that I have taught. I'll be giving this to the rest of the RAP 2 classes, so if you have friends in RAP 2, warn them, I am coming to see them. But I love public speaking. The goals of public speaking, if you are not familiar for some reason, I want you guys to walk out of here and understand how to communicate your passion, whatever that is, effectively. I want you to have talked to people, and I want them to perceive you as an expert. I want your audience to walk away and be like, wow, that was an engaging presentation. I was part of what was happening. I was not just there. And hopefully, you guys have fun. Now, based on the look on your faces, I'm assuming you guys are not so gung-ho about public speaking as I am. Don't worry. By the end of the day, my goal, my dream for you guys is to walk out of here, and even if you aren't loving public speaking, you have a set of strategies that are going to allow you to prepare yourself to public speak effectively, allow you to present at the symposium effectively, and hopefully really make headway in going from an amateur speaker to a really effective communicator. Does that make sense? Swag. So, question. What makes a good speaker?
Someone who can deliver their message effectively.
Cool. Boom. What else makes a good speaker?
Someone who's engaged with the audience.
Cool. One more. What makes a good speaker?
Someone who's interested in what they're talking about.
Interested in what they're talking about. Doug, what makes a bad speaker?
Lack of confidence.
That's a really good one. What makes a bad speaker?
They don't know what they're talking about.
They don't know what they're talking about. Okay, so I'm starting with this on purpose because it seems really simple when you say it out loud. A good speaker is easy to understand. They know what they're talking about. They deliver their message effectively, right? So why isn't everybody doing that? Think about the amount of presentations you've seen in class from your professors. Not everyone is doing this. Why? It's because they aren't prepping themselves in an effective manner, right? They aren't thinking about it, they're just going in, they're not analyzing their performance. So if you start thinking about what bad speakers do, bad speakers, maybe they talk way too quick, maybe they move everything so fast you can't actually understand everything, and their consonants are just moving like this whole blur, and even if they're getting through the content, it doesn't really make any sense. Or, maybe they're talking in such a belabored method that the entire time they are up there, they have not said more than one sentence, even if it has been 45 minutes. We can go on with this for 45 minutes, and it will sound like one of your Chem 118 lectures. And you're laughing because I'm right? That's what people do, right? So there is this whole range. You can be bad as a speaker, you can be ineffective, really. Bad is a bad word for this. You can be an ineffective speaker if you are too loud, if you are too fast, if you're way too slow. So we're not going to focus on that. We're going to rather think about ways that we can simply be effective communicators. So we know we don't want to go too fast. So later when we start practicing our speech, we'll film ourselves and we'll listen back and be like, did I understand that? The answer is no. What do? Slow down, right? There are simple solutions to these problems, and I cannot understate how effective they are and how few people actually engage with them, right? I have something up here, however, that not many people think about, but the mark of a great speaker is that they will think on their feet. So I can see all of your guys' eyes, right? I know you, I've seen you in class every week. I know which one of you guys tend to talk more. I know which one of you guys tend to be a little quieter, right? So I know how to work with you guys. But imagine if I was sitting up here and I was giving a presentation, I never met you before, and I say, yeah, So I use echocardiograms and you win. And then I was like, oh, they definitely know what that was. I'm gonna keep going. No. Good speakers adapt to their audience, right? And so every time that someone gives me a bored look, I'm like, oh, maybe that's a moment for me to make a connection. Maybe sometimes someone gives me this really confused look. I'm like, perfect, this is the chance for me to be an expert and to be an educator. And hopefully at the end, by thinking on my feet, when I get asked questions or when I need to ask someone a question to clarify, everyone walks away having learned something and is happy with the presentation, right? Am I making sense so far? Nods? Sweet. So, what goes into making a presentation successful?
Having a good visual sometimes.
Having a good visual, that's a good one.
Having good talking points.
Having good talking points.
Effective time usage.
Effective time usage, all of these are great. We're gonna talk about things you can always do as a public speaker, and then we're gonna talk about things that are more related to your presentation. Fundamentally, if you do not know your content as a speaker, that is the number one flaw, right? How many presentations have you seen in class where you're like, dude, we got this assignment a month ago, 2 weeks ago the draft was due, I turned it in, I know what I'm talking about. And one of your classmates gets up and it looks like the paper they wrote that they're about to present looks like they've never read it before, right? We've been there, right? The day of your presentation, whatever it is, you can always control, hopefully, how you look. I'm dressed in a sweater with a possum on it and a flannel because I filmed a pitch competition video today for my folk music album project. This would not go well at a neurobiology conference, let's be honest. But for me, in my field, this is appropriate, right? Your field might be different. Your field might be very simple. It might be clear cut. I think all of you guys have an inkling of what that is. Don't hesitate to ask your mentors for more, right? So you can always control what you're bringing to the table. You can always control how you look, how you act, right? And then you can always control not only what you're going to present on, but what you're presenting. You can work your presentation out ahead of time. Like, obviously, right? You know the deadline's coming up, you can do it. And hopefully on the day of, because you know this big presentation is coming, you know that the day before the symposium, even though it is a Saturday, you're not up till 2 in the morning on a Friday. Maybe you wake up and you eat breakfast. If you don't normally eat breakfast, would you eat breakfast on the day of the symposium? Probably not, right? That'd throw you off your rhythm. Go with what works for you. But all of these things, you can do these regardless. And think about it. Think about those presentations we've been thinking about, those really slow lectures, the classmates that fumble through it. If you just did these 5 things, their grade goes up by like what, 10 points? Like at least, right? They walk out with a presentation that even if it wasn't the greatest in the world, was engaging, was coordinated, and actively, like it finished. You know what I'm saying? It didn't miss the mark. So, there are 3 components to any speech. I don't care what speech you're doing. They're your verbal communication, your nonverbal communication, and your what I call non-presenter. This is kind of the stuff you were mentioning earlier with the presentation aids, but we're gonna start on this side with verbal. So everyone speaks in a different way. I'm very goofy. I'm very animated. I'm happy to dance around up here. I'm happy to get up close. You guys have definitely seen me answer questions like this before, right? And so I can totally talk with a lot of animation. I can go up really high and I can articulate all these points, and then when I need to, I can lay in for emphasis. Not everybody wants to do that. If you are presenting on cancer research, is that really the most appropriate thing to do? Maybe not, right? But find a good pace. Speaking too slow, too fast, both of those, they're equally bad because guess what? You're not intelligible. People don't understand what you're doing, right? If we go back to here, you practiced and you strategized, hopefully you know about what you're gonna say, even if it's not word for word. So the amount of ums, the filler, the things that are not a stutter, but the filler that we're putting in all the time because we don't know what we're talking about, those go away, right? So that gets coupled with my nonverbal. And I've been sitting here, how many of you guys have noticed I have my left hand in my pocket? Anyone really pay attention to it? You can kind of see it, right? So this is fine for what I'm doing, right? You've all seen me all semester. I walk around. I love walking. I love strolling. I'm a little guy, I'm happy to go for a walk, right? But if I was to sit up here and present this like this, do I look credible at all? No. You know, if I came over here, okay, that's a little better, but if I presented like this, do I look credible at all? Do I look like I know what I'm doing? No, right? Open body language. Repeat after me. Eyes. Okay, repeat after me. Eyes.
Eyes.
Hands.
Hands.
Feet.
Feet.
Eyes, hands, feet.
Eyes and feet.
Eyes and feet.
Eyes and feet.
Feet and eyes.
Feet and eyes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So, question. Ready? Do I look like I know what I'm doing? Not really, right? Because like my feet are open, my hands are open, but I'm not looking at you guys, right? If I'm looking at you like this is weird. This just looks weird, right? Something's wrong about that, right? If I'm sitting here like this. Yeah, some of you are laughing because this is the example we had last week in class, right? Right. Yeah, it was. Eyes, hands, and feet. Right? My point is, your nonverbal communication is about half of what you're doing. Some people talk with their hands. Some people don't. Maybe you're behind a podium where the gestures don't really work. Right? Maybe you're in a situation like this where I can get right up to you guys and I can point or I can laser pointer and do things to engage with you guys. But the point is, my nonverbal communication is always open to you guys. I'm always engaging with you, not at you, but with you. And I'm making efforts to make sure that my communication, without me saying anything, is inclusive of everyone in the room. I can turn to you guys, and you guys don't feel like you're being ignored, do you? No, I'm just focusing over here for a second, right? But if I was like this, now you feel like you're getting yelled at in like 7th grade, right? Like now when someone's like, oh, what'd she do, you know? No. So, how you talk, how you stand, how you move, how you present, right? These are key components. They will go out the window if you are standing in front of just a disgusting poster. Disgusting is a very intense word, and I've selected it on purpose because what your presentation looks like is discipline specific. We talked about how I wear certain things in the music industry that are definitely not appropriate for other industries, right? So this, I would say so far, this has been a very formal presentation, right? Now, for a comedy club, this is not funny. This would bomb on stage at a comedy club, but I'm not giving a comedic presentation, right? This would be horribly ineffective if you were asked to make a presentation that showcased your data and your graphs, right? But the point is, whatever you bring to the table, whether it's a script, whether it's a poster, whether it's PowerPoint slides, which, shocker, if you guys didn't know, you will have to make one of those two things for the symposium. Make sure they look clean. Make sure they help you appear your best. You know, I've hopefully made all of this text fairly legible from the back of the room, right? You don't want a poster that is just text upon text. And if there has to be text on text, make sure you articulate it and interpret it for your audience. We all making sense? We following so far? So, I need a volunteer, and by that I mean one of you is going to volunteer or I'm going to pick someone. Come on up. Okay, cool. You're next. You're third. There'll be 3 people up. You're up first. Okay, so do me a favor. So everyone read this first sentence, right? Just read it in your head. Can you pretend you're presenting to this group of people? Can you tell them that this experiment looks exciting, but can you tell them it? And can you just look like you are not happy at all? But deliver it happily and don't look happy at all.
Read the first sentence.
Yeah, read the first sentence.
Wait, I'm looking happy.
Yeah. Say it like normal, but don't appear happy.
The potential results of this experiment look promising.
Okay, so that was half of you in the presentations last week, right? Cool. Hop back down. Cool. You're up. Cool. Gotcha. Okay. Can you look really, really happy to be here? Nice open body language, and then just deliver this horribly, just. Whatever you think would be a very bad delivery of this, look so happy to be here, and then deliver it very poorly.
So the potential results of the experiment look promising.
Right? Okay, but think about that. Even though he's fumbled through it, because he was excited, you guys stuck with him, right? Right? Hop back down. Okay. Go over the third, up third. Okay. So my point is, each of these components add and detract from each other, right? So if you have a fairly decent verbal, a fairly decent verbal presentation, if you have just okay body language, people go with you. And if maybe you're just like, maybe you were just nervous. This is the first person at the symposium, and you say that. People went with him because he was excited and he was happy, right? So you can also, with these components, you can see this. You know, I love this sentence, you know, I never said she was the one, is a very different sentence than I never said she was the one. You know, very different sentence than I never said she was the one. You know, the potential results of this experiment look promising. Is different than the potential results of this experiment look promising. Those are two different things, right? So with that in mind, read this sentence here on the bottom. Okay, yeah, right? Can you tell the class here, tell them this sentence one way. Just read the sentence how you would read it, present it properly, like you're finishing up. You presented the first part, now you're presenting the other half. Yeah, this right here.
Okay.
Yeah. Just present that to the class as if that's part of your speech.
I'll just say it like in a different way.
Yeah, dude, just say it one way. This methodology.
Okay, this
Methodology.
methodology is the best choice for this type of experiment.
Okay, now tell them that it's the greatest choice of all time. Like it's the best choice. Okay, now tell them that.
This methodology is the greatest choice for this.
No, this methodology is the best choice for this sentence. Okay, try that. Sorry, that was on me. I could have communicated that better.
This methodology is the best choice for this type of experiment.
Okay, now tell them that it's the best choice for the kind of experiment you're doing. Does that make sense? For this kind of
Okay.
experiment. Right?
For this kind of,
Yeah, for this kind of experiment.
This methodology is the best choice for this type of experiment.
And he's giggling, right? And you're a little reserved here. Open up for a second. For real, shake it out. Like actually physically shake. No, you gotta get your legs involved. Otherwise you're shaking it all up. Okay, you're smiling. We're looking at them. Okay, just repeat after me. Hey, no. Hands up, no. Oh, body language. Repeat after me. So you repeat after me. This methodology is the best choice for this type of experiment.
This methodology is the best choice for this type of experiment.
This methodology is the best choice for this type of experiment.
This methodology is the best choice for this type of experiment.
Cool. Thanks for playing with me. So, my point is with these, you can say think about it, these are real sentences that might be in your speech, right? These not this one, but these two on the outside, those are real things you might have to say. Why is your methodology important? Why is your research important? Why are you doing what you are doing or what you have done? And you can say those things in engaging ways, right? Because if you just say to every person, the potential results of my experiment look promising, but we're still in the prototype stage. No one's giving you money for that. You're not doing. The potential results of this experiment look promising, even though we're still in the prototype stage. It's a world of difference. It's a world of difference. You all can do that. My point was, by embarrassing some of you, and I know it's embarrassing, thank you for getting up in front of your class, I really appreciate it. You can do these things. So, I want to take a step back now. If you haven't been told already, there are two types of presentations that you will have to pick from in December. A poster presentation or an oral presentation. Raise your hand if you are thinking about doing an oral presentation right now. Gotcha. Okay, so for most of RAP, it's like 90% poster. So I'm not ignoring you guys. We're gonna focus on poster for a second. Hang with us, there's some good content. We're gonna get to oral presentations in a second. But the vast majority of people are going to do posters at least some point in their lives. So a poster presentation, you will go in and you will have 2 hours where it is you and your poster. You will be splitting, there'll be like a little board. You guys remember seeing it from last semester, right? You'll split it with another person, and I call it adult science fair because that's basically what it feels like to me. But think about that. No one came up to you and said, "Hi, it's time for you to give the speech," and then you gave the speech, right? You just went up, and maybe they were in the middle of a presentation. Maybe you asked questions. Maybe you just said, "Hey, what's that graph mean?" and they explained the graph, and you went, that's really cool, and you walked off. Or maybe you went up to someone and they're like, oh, you want to learn about my research? And you went, sure. And then you were there for 10 minutes. So, thinking back to how good presenters adapt on their feet, and they adapt their presentation, if you are doing a poster presentation, you are giving a speech that is closer to like an elevator pitch of your presentation. It is not a formal speech, because you will give it a bunch of times over in 2 hours, right? Does that make sense? We all follow along? So, when it comes to that, right, know your content, but it might be more important for you to be like, how do I summarize my methods and my research and my conclusions in a way that if I only have 30 seconds with someone, I can tell them that, right? Or, and you will have this, I guarantee you, someone's grandma is gonna come in, and halfway through your speech, they're gonna see their grandkid who they're actually here to see, and they're gonna wanna get out of that presentation, and they're gonna like start walking away, right? Things happen. But in this moment, you are basically, it's almost like, it's closer to the abstract than the paper. Making sense? When you're doing that, you'll probably want to stand off to the side of your poster, but guess what? My audience is right here. So I can say, hey, take a look at this graph. Take a look at this graph. Take a look at this graph. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of options, right? You can invite people to look at what you're doing. Honestly, you might not have more than 2 people at a time. So sometimes it's oh, you're interested? Did you ever do research like this? Or someone says, oh, my grandfather used to work in the agriculture industry. Are you doing soil research? And you go, yeah, that's what I'm doing. You're a human first. And then once you're a human, you're a research fiend who's gonna give a bomb presentation, right? But it's so much more of a nebulous space. So prepare yourself for that. You guys, if you were giving a poster, I still recommend writing a speech out, as we're gonna get to. If you are trying to spit this memorized speech over and over and over again, you will get tired, you won't adapt it. So really embodying the speech, understanding your components, and being able to guide people through them is a more effective use of your time, and it will set you up for better success. That is not true for oral presentations at all. Not true. Oral presentations are one shot. You get one shot to go. And it's 10 minutes, unadulterated, you with a microphone in front of a group, probably no bigger than this classroom. This is like a typical size. They pack people in there for sure though. For you guys, if you were giving an oral presentation, you have one chance. And people have designated question times. So do you want to stop and adapt your whole presentation just because one person in the front doesn't get what you're doing? No. That's what question time is for. In this moment, we talked about those presentation aids, you're going to be going through a PowerPoint instead of an actual poster that you're making. And so hopefully your PowerPoint provides a guide. Hopefully if you've written a script out, it provides a guide. But you are able to take time to elaborate on your methodology, on your research context, on why your research questions are defined the way they are, why your results are important. Because you only get one chance. So if you forget to mention your methods, you're done, right? So for prepping for these, I mentioned earlier that if you're behind a podium, your gestures might be lost behind the podium. You might not really be able to invite people to look, but you might be able to very easily make a second slide. So when you have a graph and you talk about a point on the graph, you click your slides and it zooms in on the graph, right? You can make your presentation accessible and understandable and engaging, even if the understanding is you're gonna get through this presentation as a unit, and then you're gonna engage with the audience. Make sense? This is very much a formal speech. It is not an elevator pitch of a speech. Cool, we all understanding? Swag. Okay, so what's next? You gotta write a speech, right? So we know about vaguely how to present a speech. We know what bad speakers are doing, we know what we're trying to avoid. But what goes into it? What goes into a speech?
Information about your research.
Boom. What goes into a presentation? There's not a trick question here. What goes into a presentation?
Your research topic,
Yeah, your research topic. What goes into a presentation?
trying to engage with your audience.
Yeah, right, okay. So I love the answers, and I love the enthusiasm. There are only 4 things you ever need in a presentation. There are only 4. Oh, maybe I should not, there we go. You need a hook, you need the problem you are solving, you need your solution to the problem, and then you need a conclusion. That's it. That is all you need. Ready? Hi, my name is McCarthy, and I'm a native-born West Virginian scholar, educator, and musician. I'm seeking funding today to create an independent album of my own original music. And although it's an artistic project, the artistic component isn't the end. For when I create this album, not only will I be able to share it with communities in the Appalachian region that desperately need modern teachers and educators, but I'll be able to advertise both my music and my lesson services, my ensemble coaching, and my session work capabilities. I'm looking to take the step with your help to create a business out of myself to serve a desperate need for a community that has long been underrepresented and represented from within. As a West Virginian, I understand just how deeply this community needs passionate individuals to invest in it, and with your help, I'd like to make that investment rare, large investments in the future, right? That's a really short version of the pitch I hinted at earlier. You know what I said? Okay, there's a problem, I have a solution, that's it. I got into it, I did a little backwards, I kind of said, here's what I'm doing, and then alert you in, because in the pitch competition, I'm asking for money and they want to know what you're doing. But if you got up and said, there is a problem with stroke research. Stroke research is ineffective and it's costly. We are trying this new experiment that promises to be more effective, better results, and easier to maintain in the long run. However, we need to do enough trials to prove to the FDA that it is actually economically and scientifically viable. This prototype or this test run that we've done demonstrates just that. That's all your presentation is. And then you just boost up with some flowery language. How would you actually do that? Right? So, you need to define a problem, right? You need to define a problem when you do this. And it might be really obvious for some of you what your problem is. You might be in a position like stroke research or cancer research where it's a very obvious goal. However, some of you, if you're doing political science research, I did tenor banjo research, I did this. What's your problem? And think about it. Anyone have an idea what the problem they're solving with their research is? What problem are you trying to solve? You have an idea?
We're trying to figure out how a specific type of macrophage influences scar formation during stroke recovery.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is people have scars that form during stroke recovery, and that negatively impacts bodily function, right? Boom, say that. After a stroke, there's an increased rate of scar tissue. I'm making all this up, I don't know science, right? We are looking to solve that problem. Boom, that's a real solution, right? In my case, it was, hey, there's local history that's going to be forgotten as people die if we don't write it down. And it's really important to contribute to that. So as you're thinking about what we go into next, which is writing a speech, what's the problem you're trying to solve with your research? How are you going to solve it, right? And for there, that's your context, that's your background, that's your methodology. And then your conclusion is, what did your research do? Did your experiment work? Is it still in prototyping phase? Is it not really effective? And then go from there. You know, maybe you're saying, and the next study is this, or we're about to launch the first round of tests. Right, but all you have to do is these four things. It seems so much easier when you think of it like this sometimes. It's tricky though, I know that. Writing a speech can be difficult. So let's actually do it. So, we're gonna look at some examples of speeches I've written in the past. I like a script. I love a good written script because it's very easy to follow and you can practice and you can edit with it. Regardless of if you are a person who wants to just have bullet points for your script or a person who wants to go word for word. You need the following content. You need an intro, so that's our hook, right? Why are you doing this? For what reason is your research important? Many of you guys have seen those things about statistics where it's like, X number of Americans will encounter this problem in their lives, so we're doing this, right? That's where you have that. Then, what's the problem your research is solving? Why are you solving it? Move into your results, move into your conclusion, effective transitions between them. It's really simple to say. In practice, it's actually probably very difficult, as you guys have probably experienced from previous speech writing, or maybe you've never actually tried to write a speech out like this, and it's seeming daunting, right? I want to show you two examples just to prove that you guys can do this. and to point out some common flaws people fall in when they write a speech. We're almost to the end, and we have a really fun activity that I love doing. So here's a speech I wrote about a calendar. I apologize for the crazy dense amount of text. I had to record this on Zoom. So I had to go into Zoom, or maybe Flipgrid or whatever. I had to go in and record this in one take. On one shot, I was sitting on my floor because it was the only white background I had in my apartment at the time, and I was really trying to get through this assignment because I had more things to do. So, I have an introduction, goes into a subject sentence, and then I connect it to my body. And you know why? Excuse me, they're set apart like that? Because imagine trying to read this as one massive paragraph. I look up at the camera, hopefully to make eye contact, and then you look down at your script and you're like, I have no idea where I am. Great. Restart. Right? So I'm setting things apart. You know, my subject sentence or my thesis is that setting up a personal calendar is simple and essential. And I've got body points. And maybe my subject sentence is that stroke patients have an increased risk of scar tissue, which leads to this issues. We are trying to solve that problem, right? Using the followed methodology, then boom. First, we did this test. This test works in this ways. And you don't need to give them all the scientific jargon, but you're hinting at it. And they say those tests gave us these results. Making sense? Cool. Oral presenters. I forgot about you guys. These are screenshots from a speech I gave in person for a final presentation. And I tried to be funny during it, and I had a joke. And I was really worried I was going to forget to tell it right. The joke was that I was going to read something off of the slides, but the slides were wrong. And I'd be like, oh, my bad. And then we'd go into the real slides. Ready? So you know what I did? I put next slide in my script. And you know what I didn't do on the day of? I didn't forget to do it, right? It was easy. And you know what happened? By the time I gave the actual speech, I didn't even need those directions because I had practiced it enough, right? But because this was associated with other presentations, I had next slide. I guided myself along. Things worked out very well. So this is not a speech that would have adapted very well in person, right? To like a poster presentation type situation. But I got a great grade on this and was really happy with it. My point here, and we've been talking for a while, is that writing a script is easy, but daunting. Give yourself an outline to make a script, and you will be able to fill it in quicker than you realize. And the only difference between an okay script and a great one is effective transitions between the content. If you think about, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? How did I solve it? By the end of your speech, you'll have gotten all your content across. And if you wrote it out ahead of time and practiced it and edited it, you'll have effective transitions. Because something that's like, oh, well, I told them about the test I run. How do I really get to my results? Do I just be like, they did this, right? That's what writing a script is for. So, I mentioned earlier, before we started class, that you would need your abstract today. If you did not hear that, it's totally okay. You're gonna pair up with people. And by that I mean I'm gonna pair you up. Your job is to present your research to the person you're talking to. If you switch mentors and feel more comfortable presenting on the stuff you've been doing last semester, that's totally okay. But you have an abstract, and guess what that is? That's a really concise, effective summary of your project, almost like a script. It's also probably something you've written and something you hopefully edited last semester. So it's very similar to what you're doing. And guess what? After you present it once, you'll find you probably don't need it as much. So, you and Marissa are together. You, Caleb, are together. Zayla, Anthony, boom, boom. You three are a group. If we had Melody, I would have paired one of you guys up with her, but she's out today. Those are your groups. You guys have the rest of the class. I'm gonna come around. After you present once, ask for feedback. And I cannot understate this. The more seriously you try to go, like once you go, you're going. Like don't just be like, let me start over. No, go, trust me, try it. It's gonna feel uncomfortable, but the second time you do it, things will lock in a little more. And the third time. I'm gonna come around and give some feedback to you guys. But hop up, find your partners. If you need a second to review your abstract, maybe it's something you haven't thought about yet, it's a good time to remind yourself about it. But find your partners, and you're just gonna present your research. And after about 10 or so minutes, we're gonna come back and talk. But I'll be around. Thumbs up if you know what we're doing. Swag. Cool. Break. Oh, you also have to stand up to present. That's the one rule. Everyone else can sit, but if you are presenting, you need to be standing.
Yeah.
There's room over here in the corners.
Oh, he like knows that though.
Do you want me to join a different, we did the same project last year, just with some abstract. or
Sure,
we could
yeah.
do- Just cause.
Hop over with.
This might be silly,
Sweet,
but
sweet.
presenting the same abstract to each other.
Are we just like going straight off with just what we know, or are we like looking at our abstract?
So let's think about this. So,
Yeah, I'm looking at this
hold on, think about this for a second, ready? So you're presenting your research. Your abstract's about your research. So your abstract is a really concise summary of what you already know how to do. So if you need a script, maybe you're really scared of public speaking, you know what you have right here? You got a script. Maybe you feel comfortable. Maybe you read this once and just remind yourself, oh yeah, that's kind of how I said that. Or that's a really effective way to get through that content. But then you present. And so I encourage people to read it over once, and it's also, this is my secret way of reminding you guys that you will have to try and abstract it at the end of the semester, and you really should just keep it in the back of your head the whole time. So if you're like,
it'd be fine to read our abstract.
the best way, you want my really honest option, the best way is for you to read this silently once, just stand up and just start presenting and don't look at it. That is the best advice. Because trust me, you'll see your flaws really quickly.
Alright, so do you wanna do that then?
Sure.
That's kind of my abstract.
Yeah, that's fine. This is what I did last semester. I'm doing something different now,
If you are more comfortable,
I'm using my
that's
abstract from last
fine.
semester.
This is what
This
it's
is
going to
yours.
size. If you're more comfortable with what you're doing now, that's totally fine.
I feel like I'm more comfortable now, but I feel like I want to just like, I don't know.
I probably
Get it out.
Sure. My best advice, I was telling this, my best advice for how to do this is to read your abstract to yourself once silently, remind myself, okay, that's a very concise way of saying this, and then stand up and someone present and go. I cannot understand, that is the best way to do this. Okay, Anthony's presenting first, so is Molly. You're first, I'm making that decision, you're going first. I'm just making, present to yeah, you have to stand up when you present as well, that's the rule. How else are we gonna practice effective nonverbal communication if you're sitting down like this? The abstract component of this is more so to remind you guys that, hey, you actually have abstracts and you will need to edit them at the end of the semester. Yeah. Who forgot about their abstract until right now? Yeah, that's why we're doing this. Yeah. You don't need to read your abstract word for word if you know your content.
Have all the things like we should change this. I'm like,
Yeah.
Like something.
Twelve, 11, 10,
I'm not ready yet. Wait, I gotta read. I haven't finished
8,
reading yet.
7, 6, 5.
I'm not ready. I'm not going to shoot. Okay.
how long are we supposed to get to?
We haven't told you in class.
Well, I mean, like, how long should like the abstract be presented? Like time, like a minute, or like.
Hey, Anthony, you have 12 seconds to stand up and present. You have 11 seconds. You have 10 seconds to stand up and present. Yes, for real. Wait once. I cannot understand this. I cannot understand this. If you get totally lost, there is something here that you have something. Like I said, you know this. You know the pattern. It's like 5, 4,
I think it's like the other person's about.
Current breast cancer detection is woefully inadequate for today's standards. That is why our research, we are using imaging to detect
I don't
breast
care.
cancer
You
in
are.
earlier stages
Picture
of
it, go.
patients.
Okay.
Using an nanoparticle of the
Or do we just do the abstract? Should I introduce myself and everything?
Stand up, too, she's
No.
I want you to see my nonverbal communication. You can send that on your phone. Abstract, your goals are
So
it's literally.
We're collecting data on.
Love like
Yes, that's why it's there. Yes, it's almost like you have a short script for your speech, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. You're like, why is he just? It starts to click once you do it, right? Yeah.
Bear with me, like I said, I haven't done this for a while. Okay. Alright. Hello, my name is Nicole. I am. Hello, my name is Nicole. I'm a political science student at West Virginia University, and I am studying the revolving door phenomenon capability. So we've taken governmental work from people in Congress, seeing at their federal work, and if they were congressmen first, and then went to the private sector to make more money, getting apart from public work. And we wanted to see.
The set of data.
Okay. The set.
You don't have to do that.
But anywho, the interest groups that we were studying are niche groups, Native American rights, Jewish rights, rights, and we're seeing it, like I said before, they were partisan, and if they went to the private sectors, and we wanted to see the city of the revolving door, and
Well, that wasn't.
I know.
If you actually look at
Really okay. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
And it's just no one else created to mimic the face body and use
yeah.
these tools are less expensive than your typical diagnostic tools such as live animal
My name is Mason Swicky. I am a biology at West Virginia University. I'm doing research in the Department of Neuroscience.
experiments that can be used to make them really expensive ones, really new ones, whatever, cheap ones. And we're trying to make it so that they have, whether it's funding or how big it is, how
maybe there's all a car
any lab can
accident
make
or
certain chips so that we can speed up the process of medical diagnostics and testing.
which is not as common. So for this research project, we're trying to determine why the outcomes of traumatic brain injury can be different in some individuals compared to others. We have 4 different groups of studies. We have what is called a shield group, which is our basic lynching group. That's like a control group. We have a group that the mice are induced with a process called BCAS.
Maybe.
That stands for bilateral carotid artery stimulus.
Getting across.
So that's a lot of arteries, and coils wrapped around it. What they do is basically reduce the blood flow. We also have a TEI group.
Okay, hey, fine, okay. This is gonna sound crazy. You're gonna do that whole thing again. Your arms will be up here.
We have a fourth group, which is
If they start dropping, that's okay.
based on the project I've
If they
done.
go down, then I want the thumbs in your pockets. Understood? Okay.
Such as spatial learning,
Start at least like here. And just do it again. Just trust it. Just go.
that with the mice were exposed to both BCAS and TEI, there was worse performance in those 2 categories. So that can needless to say that
Keep going, your arms better be up.
that
Keep
the
going.
reduction in blood flow has a correlation with the poor performance after the TEI. And so what we're trying to do here, right, like I said, is figure out the mechanisms of TEI. And knowing what these mechanisms are and why certain outcomes are worse for certain people, we can then use that knowledge to identify therapeutic targets that can improve these results after the potential Good job.
Are you doing good? And it's stupid, but you soon see why. Keep going, you're doing great, you're doing so good, you're doing so good, this is really good, so good.
If there's more like
Okay, what do you guys want to do?
As in about our own.
Yeah, about your own, what'd you guys, what you guys
Like
say?
more practice.
Need more practice.
I felt like I was kind of just not using this, but more just what I knew.
Right?
I felt like I was very informal too. I don't know if that's good or not. In this
Candy,
case, like,
candy, right? Did you guys, common thing I hear is this, tell me if this is like accurate. Some people sit in the aisle and you don't know what to say. Not how to say. That's
Yeah.
right? Okay.
I think
I feel like I knew what I was talking about. I just like the structure.
And then from there,
I feel like if you write something, like you have no more good bullet points, and it's kind of do more structure.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where having the structure here gives you
As well as the overall,
Wait, is this
not your class. Yeah.
well, like,
It's definitely not your class.
I was like wondering like
You're okay. Good presenters adapt. Good presenters adapt. Keep presenting. Keep presenting. Keep presenting.
Okay, on this,
So my point is, imagine if you wrote out you go through that process of actually writing out and putting those transitions in there. How much more solid are they in when you do that? Right?
I think before we came
Cool.
over, he said stuff, you're like,
yeah, I was in the zone, and then he was pointing at me, and I was like, oh.
Everything else about your language was 9,000% better. That was my point. Did you guys see it? Like I pointed out to them. Because you're smiling. You look great. You look like you were like
Yeah.
doing a dance
I know,
number for a
like,
chorus line or something. Like you needed like a little hat to pull off. But when you were up here, you were forced to be stable.
Yeah.
So you
I know.
I haven't opened this
And
document.
so imagine what it has to be.
Yeah, same.
So it's your third.
It's crazy.
Where's it you saying?
Alright, hey, come on back, come on back. So, sorry to interrupt. So thoughts on that? How was that? I've already asked a bunch of you guys. What do you think? Because you just presented. What do you think about that?
that was fine.
That was fine? Okay, how many of you are both like relieved and also like equally a little terrified now? Right? Like, oh, I kind of know what I'm doing, but oh Lord, there's a lot more to go. Right? My point is, you guys know your content. You really do. You have been working on these projects for a while now, and even if you're newer to it, like you just got it, the audience won't know that. As long as you convince them that you are the expert, they will go with you. You can totally convince them that you are not an expert if you're standing like this. Or if you're talking like this all the time and it's like your lip is just going. Or if you have a presentation aid that's just like the default white Google Slides with just some vague bullet points on it. You know what I'm saying? My point is, all of you guys are capable presenters and you can totally do this if you practice. If I were you guys, 3 weeks before the symposium, I'd have my speech written. That will be actually about the time that we start having large due deadlines in here. So this is, I'll let you know, that's not an unrealistic time that you might have to present in class. But 2 weeks before the symposium, we just do presentations in class to practice, right? Practice. I cannot emphasize how much recording yourself is really helpful, how much doing this to your RA or to your mom or to one of your brutally honest friends. And it really is horrible to watch yourself back on those recordings, but if you get a good one where your whole body's in frame, just watch where your eyes, your hands, and your feet go. You'll be like, oh, I'm really hiding behind that podium, or whatever, right? So, if you need a review, at any point you're like, I'm struggling. I've got a whole resource here. I'm not gonna read this whole thing. This presentation should be available on eCampus, both with the outlines, examples, some of the speeches I've got. If it is not up there, harass me via email, I'll get it up there. But ultimately, if you show up with a speech that relates to your audience, identifies a problem, shows how you're solving it, and transitions between that content, you deliver it enthusiastically, but authentically, whatever that looks like for you, you look clean, and your presentation is clean, you will be better than 90% of presentations out there. And at that point, you really enter into the conversation of great research. Making sense? I'm really proud of you guys. I know there was a bunch of really awkward looks when you're like, oh, we have to present to people now? Whoa. You're gonna have to do that at the end of the semester. I really appreciate you guys buying in. This is a great class. I have nothing else except except for the fact that 2 weeks from now, yes, 2 weeks from now, you have an assignment due. It is the mentor interview. Just like you did the biography, you go in and you ask them about presentations in your discipline. Meet with them in person wherever possible. The Google Doc is available on eCompass. Just make a copy of it and just submit that Google Doc when the assignment comes. Don't wait. If I were you guys, I would send your mentor an email ASAP asking when you can meet to do it. You have 2 weeks to do it. Other than that, I think everything we are doing from now on is symposium presentations. So congratulations, we're through the busy work part of RAP. I'm really proud of you guys. These are really good presentations, and I'm very excited to see how they grow over the course of the semester. If you don't have questions, and you know that your assignment is due in 2 weeks, then you are good to go. And thank you for coming out today.
If we work under our mentor, but there's also like like we have like a grad student that we work under as well, maybe one.
You should go to
Alright. I need to empty my pockets. I hate presenting with pockets full.
So I was thinking, should we try to condense it a little bit since we were way over? How much overtime?
I don't think we actually.
a few minutes.